Are we live? Are we playing anything? Okay. Greetings all and good evening to you all. Thank you if you've already joined this live event. Apologies, we're running a minute or two behind, but we're here, so don't run away. Ahadi group as always, Karibu, good to see you. Njumbi, Jacinta, K Kyoko, Karibu. Shelley Barlow, welcome. Hebrews _black _coffee. Man, that's an interesting one. Welcome to our weekly live event. I am Solomon Wangwe, the founder and managing director of Goshen Acquisitions Limited, as well as its wholly owned subsidiary, Grand Acres Limited. We are specialists in land investment, land development, to be specific. Have been doing this since January of 2012. So it's slightly more than 11 years, almost 11 and a half years since we got started. So we know a thing or two about buying land safely in Kenya. And so this is why we have these sessions with you, just to share our experiences with you in terms of how to go about buying land, owning property in Kenya. If you can learn something from us, mission accomplished. So that's my brief introduction. I'll give a couple more seconds and allow as many other people as possible to join before we get started. But just so you know, today is a Q&A, as we have been doing for the last 3 weeks. So please do share your questions, anything that's been top of mind for you, that's been bugging you, that you've been curious about, that you've thought about, that you've struggled with, that you've had success with even. You have opinions, thoughts. Please, let's have a chat. This session is all about you. It's about our community, our growing community of land lovers. That's what we call ourselves here at Grand Acres and Goshen Acquisitions. We are truly the quintessential land lover. So send in your questions and we'll just shoot through them one after the other. And in case I don't get to your question before we're done at 8 p.m., please forgive, it's not intentional. And I will make an effort to get back to you between now and the next live, either directly or personally. So no worries, but send all your questions in. Don't hold back. And if you're watching or joining us from outside of Kenya, please let us know where you're at. Or if you're in Kenya and not in Nairobi, you're in another part of the country, please also just say where you're at. We love to know where you are. Glittering Angel, we see you. Thank you for tuning in again. Karibu sana. So I guess we can get started. Guys, do we have questions? You can queue them up so that we can get started. It's now 5 minutes past 7 p.m. and we'll keep this going until 8 p.m. Sir Prestige, your question is, you have mentioned before most of Nairobi is built on government of Kenya owned leasehold land, including all these new apartments. So, assuming most title deeds have 50-year lease left, how easy will it be to extend? Great question, Sir Prestige, and good to see you again on our live sessions. Quick clarification. There's a general understanding that all land within the boundaries of the Sovereign Republic of Kenya are owned by the government of Kenya. That is not quite true. In Kenya, we have very strong property rights. One of the guarantees of our constitution is the right to ownership of property, land, anything within that realm, anywhere within our boundaries. Even if you're not from a particular place, you have the constitutionally protected and guaranteed right to own land wherever you want in Kenya. So that's number one. The government of Kenya is a custodian that handles and manages registration of ownership. They are the final authority or point of reference as to who owns what. Okay, just to be clear. Now, second, the issue of leasehold simply means that you have renewable ownership. Why is that? Because the government likes to, uh, I should say, maybe structure sustainable and equitable ownership and beneficial ownership of land or property in Kenya, particularly in very critical areas like our capital city, Nairobi, and other urban areas. Urban because of migratory patterns historically from rural to the urban zones because people are searching for greener pastures, income opportunities. Now, anywhere you have a huge gathering or collection of human beings, hence the terms like footfall or foot traffic and that sort of thing, uh, that immediately creates an economic ecosystem. And so, one of the primary reasons that leasehold land has expired ownership or and use of land is to ensure that people don't hoard these prime and valuable uh, pieces of land to themselves indefinitely, and it's not helping the general public or the public good is not being served. Okay, and this is the reason. Now, the leases, even though they expire, especially in Nairobi, which are 49, 50 years, are renewable. There is a very clear renewal process that one can follow. Again, if you're not certain, engage the services of a licensed advocate of the High Court of Kenya to help you. Don't do guesswork. A simple technicality could disqualify your renewal. Okay, so get it done right. No shortcuts, no bribing, none of that mess. Just get it done right. So, just to clarify that, as far as leasehold and expiration of ownership that is renewable, which in Nairobi, in most cases, is 50 years, 49, 50 years. Okay, now, how easy is it to extend, even though you put up 45-story buildings like is happening all over Westlands? The GTC Global Trading Center is a classic example. This is a new development right next to the Kempinski Hotel by the Chinese government doing business as AVIC Limited, the developer. I think currently GTC is the tallest structure in Eastern Central Africa. Yeah. Simply because of its elevated altitude and topography, given that you're in Westlands, which is slightly elevated from Nairobi CBD, you sort of go up into Westlands. A lot of people don't notice that as they're moving around the city, but it's true. And on top of that, they have gone up 45 floors. So, amazing structure has changed the landscape of Nairobi forever. Now, that building is probably on a 50-year renewable lease. After 50 years, if they do not renew their lease, the land reverts back to the county government. Okay? And the county is then free to lease it to whoever qualifies to own it if the owners of the GTC don't renew. It's highly unlikely that they would not renew. If anything, they would do all sorts of things to guarantee renewal even ahead of time because they have to recover the investment into that property. Obviously, I happen to know, for instance, they broke the record on the costliest land acquisition in Westlands at the time that they bought the 4.9 acres. Okay, so not counting the cost of development of that crazy structure, 2 humongous towers, very tall, and all the other smaller towers with apartments, with a mall. It's insane. If you haven't been to the GTC, do yourself a favor, get yourself to Westlands. Their sales office is open. You can ask for a tour. You might be interested in acquiring something there. Who knows? But just familiarize yourselves with the amount of investment that has gone into this significant development. So whoever owns that property can simply renew. It's not difficult as long as you do it on time. I hope that answers your question, Sir Prestige. And this is true for any property that has leasehold ownership or leasehold tenure. It's renewable and it's not difficult, especially if it's in use. Now, if it's lying idle in a densely developed area, you may have issues convincing the county to renew because they might have better use for the land as opposed to allowing you to hold this precious resource uh, to yourself when it's not benefiting the community that lives in and around it. That's a general principle. So there you go. Next question. This is from Kenyan Rafiki on TikTok. Thank you for your question, Kenyan Rafiki. For the first time today, we're streaming on TikTok. So if you're on TikTok, Karibu, thank you for tuning in. Are you guys a real estate company? Yes, Kenyan Rafiki, we are a real estate trading company duly registered by the government of Kenya, company registrars under the Companies Act. And as I introduced myself in the beginning, I am the founder of Goshen Acquisitions as well as its wholly owned subsidiary, Grand Acres. We are in the business of providing Kenyans locally here in Kenya, in East Africa, and abroad, overseas, the best, the most sensible land investment opportunities. That's what we do. Unlike agents or brokers, we only sell what we own. Nothing against agents or brokers, just to get out of the way. But I'm simply saying we're not agents, we're not brokers. We will not sell anything that we do not own. And by that, I mean anything and everything we sell will have us duly registered as the owner of record on the title documents. Even when we use a special purpose vehicle like a company for a particular project, if you do your due diligence on that company, you will find us listed as shareholders. Okay, so that's a quick, my quick summary and on who we are. And thank you for asking. Okay, anyone else have a question? I see TikTok is like going crazy. Thank you for guys for tuning on TikTok. It's our first time. I hope you can hear us clearly. If you have questions, please send them in. Happy to answer. And if I don't know, I will tell you I don't know, and I will find for you the person who knows. Okay? Karenju _ Kahare on IG. Thank you for tuning in, Karenju. If you are living abroad and you want to have a residential home in Kenya, which one is easier? Building a house from scratch or buying a house? Buying a house is a lot easier than building one. I can tell you that for free. It's gonna be more expensive than building one yourself also. So it's a trade-off. Do you have the wherewithal, the time, the resources, the management infrastructure to oversee a construction of a new home? That's a very important question for you to ask yourself. Do you have budgetary limitations that maybe require you to buy land and build a home yourself, as opposed to buying something ready, which will be costlier than it will be for you to build? That's usually what people weigh. Second reason people might opt to build on their own as opposed to buying something ready, even though it's easier, is because they have very specific needs for their home. Homes are very personal. They're like the clothes you wear. And if you're going to live in a home, or assuming as an analogy, you're going to wear the same suit or dress for the rest of your life until you die, and then pass it on to your son or your daughter, you want to make sure that it's a bespoke suit, meaning it was made to measure just for you. Okay, that's how I think about residential building. Now, if you're building for income generation, you may not be as sensitive about the specific requirements for your use because you're not the end user. You're building for other people to use. Therefore, whatever. Just make sure it has a decent basics, good workmanship. The more amenities you provide, obviously, the more rent you could possibly collect. But if you're building for yourself, some people have very specific needs. For instance, if you have what's the term for that they use these days? It's not handicapped. Forgive me, I forget. Someone coined a very nice alternative to physically impaired persons, disabled, right? rather it's the enabled or physically challenged. You need wheelchair ramps, you need elevators. If it's for old people to live in because they're retired, they're elderly, they may not be able to go up and down stairs. All manner of reasons. You want a library, you want a man cave, you want classrooms for your kids because you're intent on homeschooling. These are very specific personal needs that ready-built home may not address. Therefore, you might want to build a home on your own. Okay, but it's certainly a lot easier to buy a home as opposed to building one in that respect. Hope I answered your question. I know it was long-winded. Just wanted to give some context. Thank you for that question. Do we have another one, guys? Just keep them coming as I wind up. Digital Trends Kenya, good to see you as always. Solomon, what happens where I bought land many years ago and the government comes this year and declares there will be a road passing through my land as part of the new plans? Awesome question, Digital Trends. So, assuming when you bought the land, you did not buy land that had encroached onto already designated public access roads or riparian or road reserves, any of those, right? Do your due diligence when you're buying, hire a licensed surveyor to ensure that whatever you're buying has not encroached onto these sort of what's the term they use? A lot of times I see this term way leaves. It's usually related to power lines and critical infrastructure, maybe water pipelines that have to traverse across large distances across a country to supply critical, utilities, those kinds of things. If you're buying a piece of land, make sure you have not encroached on road reserve. Number one. If you didn't encroach on road reserve, but they decide they're going to put a road on there at some point while you own it, the government can exercise what is known as eminent domain rights, right? Because they have the preeminence in terms of deciding use of land. This happened, for instance, with portions of the expressway or Mombasa Road or Thika Superhighway. A lot of people got messed in that one because they had built entire buildings onto road reserves, which they shouldn't have done. Okay, so if they decide they're passing by there with a road, it's up to them. You have no choice. It's a forced sale. But the law does say that they have to compensate you at market rates. They can't just take your land for nothing, right? They'll have to compensate you. In some cases, they'll even compensate your costs of moving. And I've heard of people who've even gotten rent for a year for wherever they need to live after they moved before they buy their new place with the money they have received from the government. And depending on the location, it can be extremely lucrative. So yes, the government does have the right to repossess your property, even if you don't want to sell, but they have to compensate you at market rates. Valuations are done, blah, blah, blah. It's a very formal process. It's supposed to be done above board. Monkey business happens from time to time, but Kenyans are very quick to go to court against the government. So, like I mentioned before, we live in a country, thank God, that has generally, or I should say, relatively strong property rights compared to all our neighbors in East and Central Africa. So no worries about that. Just make sure you're compensated at market rates. Awesome question. Next one, please. Sir Prestige, thanks so much for clearly answering my question. Fully understood. Thank you, Sir Prestige. Guys, that wasn't a question. Sharon Michael on IG, or Sharon Makio, apologies. Sharon Makio on IG. Thank you for tuning in, Sharon. You say, hi, I wanted to know if the land you sell is ready for development. Can I build a house immediately? I buy it. Are there people who have already started to build residential homes on the lots you sold? Thank you for your question, Sharon. That answer will depend on which particular project you're speaking about, because we have multiple projects at any given time. Some are more readily buildable because of their location next to utilities, like our Olkekun project right on the highway, the Naivasha-Nakuru highway in Naivasha, directly opposite the brand new Safari Center development, best development in Naivasha, Nakuru at the moment, if you ask me, both in terms of quality of build and use. Okay, we are located right across that, touching the highway. It's a very busy residential area, fully settled. Ours is one of the few parcels of land that has not been fully built yet. So a place like that can be built on immediately. And we're also providing all the utilities you require, including water, power, sewer, waste treatment, security gatehouse, commercial activity on the road front, all that. So you can build immediately. Whereas our Imbuko project, and I should say, like our Naivasha project, Acacia Cove in Nanyuki is also going to be exactly the same. You can build immediately. Imbuko, on the other hand, is a little bit more frontier, where we are the entity that's opening up that area to outsiders. It's never happened before. Even though we are located on a pipeline of fresh water, there's power nearby. We're going to be providing all-weather access roads with clear beacons and such and such. That will be a bit more costly to settle on because you have to spend more money to provide yourself the amenities you need to live comfortably on a day-to-day basis, as compared to Naivasha or Nanyuki, right? But in general, the more readily settlable a place is or a piece of land is, the costlier it's going to be. In Naivasha, for instance, we're selling 50 by 100 parcels of land with commercial zoning already secured by the authorities or from the authorities, residential, including for some high density residential, so you can build apartments. We have proper zoning and user secured planning approvals from the county and everything. Why? Because at Grand Acres, we don't take shortcuts. We always do things right, which is why we're the best land sellers in this country. I can say that without fear of contradiction. Anyone who tells you otherwise either doesn't know what they're saying or is just hating. But you're going to pay a lot more for that kind of property than you would for one in Imbuko that's a bit more frontier, that may be better suited to speculative investment. Okay? That's how I would answer your question without knowing exactly which project you're referring to. Tycoon on TikTok. What happens when major structures are put in place and they don't wish to continue with a lease? You surrender the land and everything affixed to it. So in Kenya, there is a clause in our laws that specifically states that anything attached to the soil in the ground of a property, a piece of property, belongs to the recorded owner of that property. So even in the event of a lease, okay, you're going to lease land to build, say, warehouses or apartments. If it's a long-term lease and you've done your math and you figured, if I lease this land for X amount of money every month to the landowner, if I build this development and collect rent for however long I've negotiated my lease, I will get my money invested back plus an acceptable return, right? You've made that determination. At the end of the lease, even if it was renewable and the owner, say, doesn't want to renew the lease, or you decide you don't want to renew the lease, everything attached to the soil on that land automatically belongs to the owner of the land, especially with government land. Okay? So it's very simple. Unless you're going to make a case for moving your building, which is very impractical and improbable, unless you can master the art of teleporting material structures like buildings, right? So anything affixed to the land belongs to the landowner of record, whether it's a government or an individual. Now, there is a clause that allows you to put in your lease agreement right from the beginning. It has to have been addressed right at the beginning, where you say, I'm leasing this land for 50 years. I'm going to build a building. I'm going to collect rent. I'm going to own it and operate the building. I'll pay you your rent every year, blah, blah, blah. Now, at the end of the lease, I am going to keep this, that, or the other. I'm going to remove certain aspects of my development that are movable. For those that are not movable, you have to compensate me for them. Things like boreholes or warehouses or whatever you put in the ground, right? Those can be negotiated with the landowner in advance and put in the lease agreement that then guarantees your authority to use the land for the purpose for which you have leased it. Okay, now if you do that, fine. You can get compensated for whatever you leave or be allowed to remove whatever you want to remove. But if you did not explicitly state that right from the onset, when you sign the lease, everything attached to the land automatically reverts to the owner of that land, no matter how costly or prime or expensive. So it's something you want to do very circumspectly. Dot your I's, cross your T's, work with a licensed advocate, one who specializes in commercial conveyancing, so that they can build into your lease agreement everything you need to protect your interests or your successor's interests at some point in the future. Plain and simple. Thank you for that question, by the way. It's an awesome question. So next one here, man, your name is too long. It's like 20 digits. I won't repeat them all. You're on TikTok. Digits end with 3226. Touch on procedure when purchasing land through Sarco, please. If you have not done this yet, this is the best way I can answer that question. Otherwise, I'd be here talking about it until 8 p.m. Go to our website, www.grandacres.co.ke. Look for the tab that says Grand Acres Checklist. It's an absolutely free resource for you and all your loved ones and your friends, only the people you like, please, because we only like good vibes. Download that free checklist. Step 1 to 9, the 9 steps to safe land transactions, land in Kenya. This is applicable regardless of whether you're buying from a Sarco, from a bank, from an individual, from a company. It doesn't matter. The process is exactly the same in terms of doing your due diligence and ensuring you are provided everything you need to secure your unimpeachable ownership and registration of title, what we call the completion documents, right? So download it, share it with your friends and family. The process is exactly the same, even if you're buying from a Sarco. Okay? Next question, please. Moses Ochola on TikTok. Thank you, Moses, for tuning in and for your question, which is, do you guys sell beach plots? Very soon we will. So stay tuned. If you're particularly interested in a beach plot, send us a DM on our handles. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on TikTok, obviously. We're on LinkedIn as well. Or you can go to WhatsApp. The number is 07 0001 Again, that's 07 0001 Send your details and tell us you're looking specifically for a beach plot. That way, when we do secure something, again, because we only sell what we own, we're not agents or brokers, we need to guarantee you accountability of ownership from ourselves to you, right? As soon as we have something, because we've been scouting very aggressively for the last 3 to 5 years, we will have something soon, and you will be notified on the early bird list before we go public with it. And you'll have an amazing opportunity to buy it at a discounted rate, an early bird rate. So if you're keen on that, please just go to WhatsApp or send a DM to one of our handles, and we'll put you on our database. The number is right down here if you're watching me on Facebook and which other one? YouTube. Facebook and YouTube. The number is right here, right there. You can see that 07 0001 and someone will take your details and acknowledge receipt of your expression. Thank you. Sir Prestige, man, you win the award for most questions today. You say, if you don't mind me expanding on my previous question regarding extending leasehold term, how is the cost of this renewal calculated? Imagine a 2-bed apartment in Westlands today with 5 years lease left. Okay, Well, again, I would need specific details about that, but I mean, the government does have a formula that they use to compute the value against which you pay the stamp duty or the renewal fee. Your lease, your annual rates, if you have leasehold property, um, especially in places like Westlands or in Nairobi, you're going to be paying two kinds of taxes every year. You're going to be paying land rates to the national government. You're going to be paying, sorry, forgive me, land rent to the national government, okay? Land rent to the national government and land rates to the county government. They are computed as a nominal amount, being a percentage of the value of the property every year or every so often. Now, if you're going to renew the lease that has expired, obviously the value at that point will be significantly higher than when you started, even if it's only 5 years. And that is computed as such. And I am not sure, and this I can find out for you, when you're buying leasehold property and transferring ownership, the stamp duty for registration of that ownership is 4% the value of the property. Okay, and the value of the property is determined by the government valuer at the relevant registry that you're dealing with. Okay, because all properties are zoned, the registries deal with zones. So you need to deal with a registry that's relevant to your property. There's a government valuer stationed there. They will ascribe or assign or assess a value, and you pay 4% of that value as stamp duty to transfer ownership. I am not certain because I have never renewed a lease yet. I'm not certain that it's the same if you're renewing as opposed to transferring, but I can find that out for you. Team, please make a note of that handle, and we can find out from our advocates tomorrow and give you a specific answer on that. That's a great question, actually. Never come across that one. Naomi Kamau, how do you discharge a charge on leaseholds? Uh, well, Naomi, to discharge a charge, you need your bank, whoever has charged, to issue a discharge notice for the specific amount. We're actually just purchasing a property now that was charged to a bank, and our seller has requisitioned or acquired authority to discharge from the bank. The bank has to give those instructions to the land registry because it's a land registry that registers charges and registers discharges or cautions or whatever other encumberment or lien is registered on the title. It's done exclusively by the Ministry of Lands registrars or officers. You get the authority from whoever registered the charge. If you're going to borrow from a bank, it's a bank that's going to register the charge, not you. And they can do that on the basis of your loan agreement, such and such. Okay. And likewise, they will need to issue authority to the governing authority to discharge for whatever amount you have agreed with them at that point, whether it's full or partial, and so on. Because sometimes people charge a property, it's 10 acres in size. They decide to sell half of it later. They'll notify the banker. If the banker is satisfied that their ratios of loan to value risk are not being uh, encroached on, they will permit a subdivision for you to sell half of it, in which case they would need to tell the registrar that you can discharge for X amount of the total amount they owed us, not the whole amount, obviously. Otherwise, they will simply issue a full discharge and you're free to sell your property without needing to discharge. So I hope I've answered your question. Uh, that's a good one. You guys have eaten good fish for lunch today, man. Your questions are awesome. I love it. Wangui on TikTok. Thank you for watching, Wangui, for tuning in, and for your question, which is, hey, how many acres do you purchase if I'm willing to sell land? Well, Wangui, that will depend on where your land is and the price. Very simple. So let us know. And as you do so, make sure to include the pin drop to the property so that we can make a quick assessment of whether or not we're interested in the first place. We're very particular about where we buy land. There are places you gave me land for free, I will not take it. I truly mean that. So it'll be helpful if you send us a pin drop so that we can assess the area, its location, does it fit our criteria as Grand Acres or Goshen acquisitions? If so, we can engage further, and how much of it we can buy will depend on your asking price, the terms of payment, such and such. Thank you for that question. How did it start? Hey, how did it start? Welcome back. Your question is, when land sellers mention they want a joint venture with me as a land seller, what does that mean? What are the best practices? Should I trust them? Wow, that's a great question. When land sellers mention that they want a joint venture with me as a land seller, what does that mean? Okay, let me tackle that one. What that means is they don't want to pay you everything like a normal purchase, right? Because they are in the business of selling land like we do. They are interested in the land because they know they have customers who would readily buy whatever they produce from that land because of its location, maybe because of what's going on around it, whatever the case may be. Maybe it's next to the beach and they know it's marketable, but they don't want to tie up the capital to buy outright from you, or they just don't have the capital, in which case they will propose a joint venture with you to partner with you to sell your land for you to their customers. Okay? And in a lot of cases, unfortunately, land selling companies or entities that take this approach, in essence, act like brokers or agents, as opposed to being joint venture partners. How you ensure that they are a joint venture partner and not just an agent or broker? You've heard of so many stories, including recently, of people who bought tons of land, billions of shillings worth. Turns out that the selling company didn't actually own the land, is because they were likely in a joint venture with the landowner, but they went about it like an agent as opposed to a joint venture partner. And how to ensure that they are acting as a joint venture partner is that they pay you a deposit. Okay? LSK recommends a minimum of 10% of the value of the transaction as a binding deposit. Have a sale agreement or joint venture agreement that clearly stipulates what you expect from them, what they expect from you, how this venture is going to be dissolved, what conditions have to be met for that to happen, and so on. Okay, and what are the best practices? I think I've answered some of that. Work with a licensed advocate, please, please, please. Do not take shortcuts. Get your own licensed advocate of the High Court of Kenya, one who specializes in conveyancing or property transaction, property law, commercial transactions. That's number one. Number two, under no circumstances should you share the lawyer with the land selling company that wants a joint venture with you. Let them have their own lawyer and have your own. I promise you, it'll save you at least 10 years of life from saved stress or gray hairs, or even worse, a broken heart, because things go sideways very quickly with joint ventures. It's not something I advise for people to get into lightly, okay? Because it's a marriage of sorts, and getting out of that situation can be extremely difficult. So make sure they pay you something upfront, whatever you've agreed, 10%, 50%, whatever. Don't just give them the land for free, okay? And make sure you use your own advocate. That's a best practice. And do your due diligence on them as well. Make sure that they have a good reputation in the market. They haven't screwed someone else in your position before, right? Get bank guarantees if you must. Check them out. Just like they will do due diligence on you and your land, make sure you do due diligence on them, right? They want to date you. Don't just say yes. Make sure they qualify, okay? And should you trust them? That will depend on what you find out with your due diligence. I'm a big proponent for personal interaction with the principles of the company. If you don't like them or what they're about, walk away. Run if you must. Don't take any chances. Trust is a very delicate thing. It takes long to build trust, it's difficult to get trust, and it's extremely quick to lose. So make sure you like these people in the first place, whoever they are. And this is what your due diligence will help you determine, in addition to your personal interactions with them. And if possible, draw them out, make them long and drawn out. Okay, don't just say yes quickly. Make them take you out on a date, buy you lunch, let them show you their previous projects that they've done in a similar way. Was it successful? Was it not? Take your time. Don't be in a rush. And don't be a motivated seller. Best way to get screwed is to be too motivated as a seller. Same as a buyer, by the way. Great question. Elden on TikTok. Hi, so if land is owned by 3 people and title lost, can one person apply for replacement? No. All 3 registered individuals have to apply together in concert, collaboratively, at the same time, simultaneously. You get the point? Nothing will happen with that title unless all registered parties are in agreement. I hope that helps. Ferrari on TikTok. What happens when someone buys a piece of land and he dies before they complete the process? Wow, that's a messy one. It'll depend. Frankly, are they buying it as an individual? Are they buying it as a company? Okay. In either case, did they have a clear succession plan in place or succession structure in place to determine who would have authority to transact on their behalf in their absence? For instance, a simple power of attorney would solve a lot of problems in that situation, right? It depends. It depends on what was put in place by this individual or this someone before they died. Yes, and it is possible to complete the process even in their absence. If there was a power of attorney, you may need to change the nominated transferee, meaning if they were acquiring it in their name and they died, obviously that person can no longer be registered as the owner of record on that title. If they had appointed someone who had a power of attorney, they could ideally nominate a different transferee who would then be registered as the owner. Some documents may need to be redone, like the transfer forms that were signed. If it was a freehold agricultural property or agricultural property, I should say, you would need land control board consents afresh, because those are very specific to an individual, including ID numbers and such, and PIN certificates. So it'll depend on many things. So ask, always, again, I know I sound like a broken record saying this, but it's for a reason. Get yourself a licensed advocate to help you navigate that situation. Okay, we have some questions from Facebook or Instagram. Or TikTok is hogging all these questions today. I know it's our first time on TikTok, probably that's why the team is only focused on your questions, but it's now 7:46. We have 14 minutes. Let's cover as many more questions as we can. I see someone here. I think this is TikToker. Yasin Mini. Can I get a plot for around 500K around Juja or within 100 kilometers to Nairobi? But from you, unfortunately, not yet, Yasin. We do not have anything in Juja to offer yet, but we're constantly scouting. As soon as we have something, you will hear about it, and we look forward to that. Kenyan Rafiki, do you guys have any vacancies or voluntary positions for students pursuing real estate? That's a great question, Kenyan Rafiki. We do not have vacancies as such, but we are open to engaging specific individuals if they qualify, if they are the right fit for the team, for internships, temporary placements, that sort of thing. So reach out, send a message to WhatsApp. The number is 07 0001 0001. I'll repeat that again, 07 0001 0001, and someone can reach out to you. Thank you for your interest. Let's see. Grand Acres, Elden on TikTok. Okay, cool. Do you have any, do you have to pay stamp duty when the gift of deed is given? It will depend on how it's done. Okay. Gift of deed. A gift of deed means basically you've inherited land, someone is gifting you a property. Unfortunately, any change of ownership requires payment of stamp duty. Unless the person is deceased and their estate was instructed to hand over the property to you, but they are still alive and they're transferring ownership to you, even if it's free, stamp duty will be assessed. That's just, it's cut and dry. Change of ownership from one individual to another, and it's not the same individual, just to be clear, stamp duty will be payable. Naomi Kamau, thank you, Naomi, for your question. Joint land tenure registration is crude. Okay, when you die, the land is transmitted to your partner immediately. What Solo could help clarify is whether you go through succession process. Naomi Kamau, that's an interesting comment. Joint land tenure registration is crude. I wouldn't say it's crude. It depends. It depends on the purpose for the acquisition in the first place. If you're married, it's a great idea to have joint ownership, right? For many reasons. I wouldn't get into those. There's a ton of reasons why that could work. If someone dies, if one of them dies, well, yes, potentially, in the event that there was no will and there's no heirs who claim ownership. It's Kenya. I mean, custom law is strong here. People could come out of the woodworks and claim that they are heirs and should be allowed partial ownership of the land. You know, children who no one knew existed. Come on, guys. We're Kenyan. We hear the stories all the time. You probably know someone who's gone through this, and then you end up in court, and the court has to decide, yes, this person has a legitimate claim of succession. They are an heir to the deceased, therefore they should be given blah, blah, blah. Happens all the time. Unless there's a will, that's a potential outcome. But sorry, guys, just go back to that question. I wasn't done answering. What Solo could help clarify is whether you go through succession process. Yes, succession is necessary whenever a property owner dies. Either way, if there was a will in place, the succession process executes the instructions of the will. If there was no will in place, succession includes the court appointing an administrator who will then, in collaboration with interested parties, decide what's happening. Okay, again, work with licensed advocates. If you're in this situation, find a succession law specialist because they are there. There are lawyers who specialize in succession law, just like there are lawyers who specialize in litigation, going to court for lawsuits. There are lawyers who specialize in commercial law. I know lawyers who specialize in water law, right? I mean, so you need to find the right lawyer. Just because they're a lawyer does not necessarily mean they're the right professional for your specific situation. So identify a succession law licensed advocate, and they will help you navigate that, having better details of the situation. Okay. Jackie Mungai, how do you verify land that is bought only by land agreement? Okay, let me repeat that. How do you verify land that is bought only by land agreement? Jackie, I am not sure what you're asking. I'm not sure what you mean by land agreement. Do you mean a sale agreement? Um, Perhaps you can give me a little bit of color so I can understand your question better. Forgive me, and I can give you an answer. Okay. Next question. We have 8 minutes, guys. So let's get as many people's questions answered as possible. Elden on TikTok again. A plot got seized and fenced by an individual with a forged title. How does one sort this? This sounds like a case for the Directorate of Criminal Investigations. If you have evidence that they have a forged title, for instance, you have a title to the property and they also have a title to the same property, you need to go to the police and report this, record a statement, and there's a procedure in place, including going to court if necessary, that will then provide forensic reports by DCI to determine whose title is fake, whose is legit, blah, 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 and then that can be sorted out. Okay, unfortunately, there is no shortcut to that solution, especially if someone is bold enough to seize land by force and fencing it. I mean, there's also a good chance that they were defrauded by whoever sold them the land. Okay, so I would need more color, guys. It helps if you give me very specific details on some of your questions, because the answer, there could be 20 different answers to that question depending on the specifics, right? So if you say the individual has a forged title, do you have proof that it's a forged title? There are situations where two separate individuals have legitimate, not fake, legitimate titles to the exact same property. It happens. We've had cases of this in court for eons. So again, consult a licensed advocate, provide them all the details, and they can help you craft a way forward. Mildred on TikTok, where would you advise someone to buy land? It would depend. What's your purpose for the land? Are you looking to buy land to do agriculture? Are you buying land to build a commercial block? Looking to buy land for your home, for everyday use? Or are you looking to buy land for a weekend getaway, vacation use? I mean, all these reasons will determine where you should buy land. Okay, now if you're asking me about location, same thing. Your reason, your goal, this is step number 1 on our checklist. In case you haven't done so yet, please go to our website and download it. It's absolutely free. It's a Grand Acres land buying checklist, the 9 steps to safe land buying in Kenya. It's absolutely free, guys. Go to the website, download it, send it to your friends, use it every time you're looking for land, scouting for land, making an assessment about different investment opportunities on land or property. It'll save you a lot of headaches. Step number 1 is define your goal. What's your reason for buying the land? That'll determine everything else. Okay, I hope that helps, and thank you for your question. This next question is from how do you pronounce that? Bad English accent. I was about to butcher that one. Bad English accent on TikTok. Hi, looking to buy land for the first time in Kenya. I watched your videos, very informative stuff. Thank you very much. Anything you can add that you haven't posted about in a video before? Absolutely not. If you go to our website or to YouTube more directly, just search for Goshen Acquisitions or Own Land in Kenya on YouTube. We have, how many videos do we have up now? 300 and something plus, maybe 400. There's hundreds of videos about all sorts of things around how to buy land safely in Kenya, including, sorry? 711. Okay, we have 711 videos up on our YouTube channel, guys. Free resource, consume as you please. If you have questions after consuming, reach out. Happy to clarify further. There's nothing I can tell you now that I haven't said on video. But thank you for asking and thank you for watching, and welcome to our live. I hope we'll keep seeing you every week. Naomi Kamau, another question. Is it advisable to purchase land where succession ain't complete yet? That is from one of the heirs. If yes, how do you secure your interests and rights? Naomi Kamau, the answer is absolutely no. That's my advice to you. If you're still going through succession, stay away. Not worth the risk. You have no idea where things are going to land in the end. Okay? And I think that circumvents your second question. Stay away. It's not transactionable yet. They need to sort out things. They need to get their affairs in order, have clear ownership registered, and then you can deal with the owner of record without any ambiguity. Okay? Don't take the risk. That's my advice to you. And all success. I hope it works out. We got 2 minutes, guys. Any other question we can tackle? TikTok. Okay, Kabaka Njuki, is that the one? Yeah. Hi, Kabaka. Oh, it scrolled up. Let's see. Okay, I got it. Kabaka Njuki. How can children claim their property, i.e. land, when land documents are not owned by the children? You would have to go through succession hearings and quite possibly go to court if there's some sort of dispute. Hence your use of the word claim. I would need more details, Kabaka, to give you more detailed advice on how to go about that. If you like, reach out to our WhatsApp number 0700010001. Again, that's 0700010001, and we can have a chat. I'll give you my advice, and also happy to recommend certain advocates that you can talk to if that is indeed required. And I wish you well, you and your siblings. I hope you get what is yours, as should be the case. All right, we have one more question. Is that the one? Embu's finest? Oh, wait, there's one here. Naomi Kamau and Sir, and the other gentleman, what's his name, Sir? Sir Prestige. You guys take the cake today for most questions. What if heirs got no money to process succession and have approached you for cash land trade-off? Absolutely not. How are you going to get your money back? Who's going to end up with the property at the end of the succession? Now, if you're willing to part with the money and count it as a donation to a good cause to help this family out, well and good. For a land transaction, my answer is still NO in capital letters. Stay away. If you want to help them out, help them out. But that's a murky one. Okay, I hope that helps, guys. It's now 8:01 actually. Forgive me for going over time. We started 2 minutes late, so I guess it wouldn't hurt to eat another minute of your time. I want to thank you all for tuning in and being part of this amazing live event. So many of you, so grateful for your attention, for making time to have these conversations. I hope you find it useful and beneficial and helpful. If you know a friend or family, only the ones you like, that could benefit from these sessions, send them a link to this. It's going to be shared on our socials. It's been recorded. It'll be shared so others can watch it. And make sure you tune in for next week, same time, 7 p.m. every Thursday, by God's grace. If not, we will always communicate with apologies. But I'm so grateful for your time. And I wish you all a blessed next 7 days. See you guys.
Welcome to Imbuko 5. Tuko Imbuko, karibuni sana. It's mid-morning. Yeah, it's 9:54 a.m. in this beautiful corner of South Kajiado. As you can tell, we've had a few dumpings of rain. You can tell from the muddy puddles on the side of this Maram road. Although I have been told that for whatever reason, this side of Kajiado South has only started receiving rainfall, whereas the side closer to Emali has received a lot more rainfall. And you can tell as you drive down because it's a lot greener on that side. But we thank God at least they've gotten a few sprinkles here and there, and hopefully it increases before the rainy season is over. But the reason I'm excited to show you where we're at is because Imbuko returned. So we're standing right on the side of the access road that runs along what will be Imbuko 5, which will be 1 acre parcels of land that we're going to be offering on a pre-sale basis, because 50 acres as a mother parcel is relatively small, because after accounting for access roads in any public utility size like for the garden, we may have only 45 1 acre parcels to sell to you. So I just want to give you guys a sneak peek of what Imbuko 5 looks like before we do any of the maraming of the access roads and so on. It's very close to Imbuko 4. As you recall, 5 acre blocks which sold out really quick, which also sold right after Imbuko 3, which were 1 acre parcels. If you're interested, reach out to us ASAP. 0700010001. Again, that's 0700010001. Someone on WhatsApp can respond to you. You can also check out our website, send us an email, and we'll be happy to engage with you as soon as possible.
Get your 1 acre lot at only 1.19 million today.